Exposed, a white woman's incredible request to a black man reveals unexpected love in just one day. Sarah could hardly see through the tears streaming down her cheeks as she picked up the paintbrush. It felt like she was in a fog, surrounded by memories of her late husband, who had left her far too soon. The anniversary of his death loomed over her like a dark cloud. With 2 young children to care for, she desperately needed a spark of joy, something to remind her of the vibrancy of life. The annual neighborhood block party was coming up, and part of her yearned for the laughter and connection it once brought. But how could she bring anything good to her family when her heart felt so heavy? Just down the street, Jamal was in his studio, surrounded by canvases alive with color, each stroke echoing stories of struggle and triumph. He had enough challenges keeping his art gallery afloat, facing skepticism from people who looked past the beauty of his work and saw only the color of his skin. Yet, he poured his soul into each piece, finding solace and resilience on the canvas. He never expected that a simple knock on his door would change the course of his day. There she was, Sarah. The idea of working together, 2 souls bound by grief yet so different in their backgrounds, was outrageous. But deep down, both felt a flicker of hope, a possibility of healing. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they began to paint together, laughter spilled between them like the bright colors on the wall. He listened to her stories of sleepless nights, juggling shifts at the diner, and the crushing loneliness that crept in during quiet moments. Sharing their burdens, they found unexpected strength. For Jamal, her kindness was a refreshing wind against a storm of judgment. For Sarah, it was a lifeline pulling her from the depths of despair. Each brushstroke grew bolder and brighter as they painted a mural that depicted hope, unity, and resilience, a piece that would grace the backdrop of the block party, but not everyone was pleased. Whispers of disapproval snaked through the neighborhood, murmurs stretching like shadows across the bright colors they created. What does she think she is doing? Asking him for help? Sarah felt those gazes piercing through her, the familiar weight of inadequacy crashing down on her shoulders. And when a cruel rumor spread, underscoring the racial divide and echoing doubts of their partnership, Jamal's resolve began to falter. Would stepping back be the answer to protect both of them from the storm? Caught in a moment of raw vulnerability, Sarah laid her fears bare. Each word dripped with the weight of her struggles, yet they ignited something in Jamal. For a fleeting moment, all the prejudice around them faded, replaced by a shared understanding that bridged the gap between their lives. This revelation, how much he meant to her in such a difficult time, sparked a flicker of courage within him. As the day of the block party approached, excitement mixed with dread settled over Sarah and Jamal. Would their mural truly bring the neighborhood together, or would it deepen the division? Would their bond withstand the storm threatening to pull them apart? As they prepared to reveal their work, a moment of triumph awaited them, but the shadow of doubt lingered just beneath the surface. The day of the block party dawned bright, sunlight filtering through the trees, embellishing the neighborhood with a warm, golden hue. Sarah woke early, her heart racing. She looked at the mural they had worked on together, the colors vibrant and full of life. Each twist of the brush represented not just hope but a shared journey, a piece of their hearts intertwined in the strokes of paint. Yet, the thrill was tinged with anxiety. As she prepared her children for the day, she could feel a weight pressing down on her. "Mommy, are we going to see the big painting?" her daughter asked, her face glowing with excitement. Sarah managed a smile, but inside, uncertainty echoed with every question her son tossed her way. She wanted to be brave for them, to show them that beauty could bloom even in the cracks of grief. Meanwhile, Jamal stood in his studio, running his fingers over the mural's final strokes. His thoughts spiraled between fear and anticipation. With every brushstroke shared with Sarah, he'd opened up to a world of possibilities. The feedback from the neighborhood, however, clawed at him. What if people saw them together and only remembered the divide? The moment he had felt that flicker of courage seemed distant now, swallowed by apprehensive thoughts. As the clock ticked closer to the party's start, the aroma of barbecue wafted in the air, mixing with the sounds of laughter and chatter spilling from the gathering crowd. Sarah donned a bright dress, hoping it would brighten her spirits. With her children in hand, they stepped outside, joining the buzz of neighbors preparing for the festivities. When Sarah spotted Jamal at the far end of the street, his presence ignited a spark of warmth within her. He was speaking with a few locals, laughter bubbling up as they admired the mural. She felt pride swell within her. He had come so far, carrying not just his burdens but her own as well. But just as quickly, that pride twisted into anxiety as she caught sight of some unfriendly faces staring back at her. Moments later, Jamal noticed her. Their eyes locked, and in that heartbeat, everything else faded. He made his way over, a broad smile breaking through his own storm of worries. "Are you ready?" he asked gently, as if sensing the chaos swirling in her mind. "Ready as I'll ever be," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. "I just hope. I hope it goes well." "Me too," he admitted, his voice dropping low. "But whatever happens today, we did something beautiful together. That can't be taken away." For the first time, Sarah felt the weight of the world lift, if only for a moment. They exchanged a glance filled with understanding, a promise that they were facing this together. As the banner was raised, signaling the official start of the block party, familiar faces began to emerge from the crowd, mingling with those who had not seen them interact before. Some smiled, others frowned, and whispers slithered through the air. Suddenly, a voice called out from the crowd, loud and accusatory. "What is she doing with him? This isn't right." The laughter of children playing faded, replaced by an uncomfortable tension. Jamal stiffened, knowing he had to respond. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Would he stand up for them? For the artwork they had created and the bond they had nurtured? With eyes narrowed, Jamal stepped forward. "We're not just painting a wall," he said, his voice strong, yet full of emotion. "We're building something bigger than ourselves. And if you can't see that, then you're missing the point." Sarah's heart soared and trembled all at once. Would his courage be enough to silence the naysayers and bring hope back to the community? With uncertainty swirling like the wind around them, there was no way to tell how this would end. Their moment of truth was upon them, and Sarah realized the stakes were even higher than she had imagined. Would they stand together against the tide or be swept away? The crowd waited with bated breath. The crowd buzzed with tension, a mix of disbelief and curiosity swirling among the neighbors. Jamal's voice resonated in the crisp air as he stood his ground. There was something electric about his defiance, a ripple that began to weave through the audience. Murmurs dipped and swelled, as if a storm was brewing just beneath the surface. Sarah felt her heart race. "Come on, Jamal," she whispered, her eyes scanning the faces around her. Some were already pulling away, avoiding the confrontation, while others still stood stiffly, eyes darting back and forth as the moment hung like a delicate thread. Jamal took a deep breath, taking in the myriad expressions around them. "Look, we all have our histories." He paused, searching for the right words. "But this mural? What it represents goes beyond any one person here." He gestured toward the mural, its vibrant hues shimmering under the sunlight. With every stroke, it told a tale of resilience, togetherness, and understanding. "It's about healing and moving forward." The loudest voice from before scoffed, "Healing? With him?" Sarah felt as if a cold hand grasped her heart. Eyes turned to Jamal, waiting for him to falter. But he didn't. Instead, a calmness enveloped him, as if he had found clarity in the storm. "Yes," he replied, each word deliberate. "With him. With all of us. Don't you see? We can choose to remain divided, or we can come together. It's a choice." Sarah's breath caught as she watched Jamal, the man who stood firm against the angry tide. She felt pride blossom within her chest, but it was swiftly accompanied by doubt. Would his bravery be enough? She stepped forward, heart pounding, her children hesitantly following behind. "He's right," she added, her voice carrying a tremor that surprised even her. "This mural isn't just a painting. It's our chance to start a dialogue, to connect." Gasps floated through the crowd, and the atmosphere shifted again. A fragile glimmer of openness lit in some eyes while others hardened further. A woman stepped forward from the flank of scowls, her face partially obscured by shadows cast from the trees. "You really think you can just come and change things? Painting over old wounds won't heal anything." Jamal opened his mouth to respond, but Sarah cut in before he could. "Maybe it's not just about painting," she said, her heart racing with each sentence. "Maybe it's about recognizing the scars we carry and trying together to make something better out of it." Jamal turned to her, surprised and warmed by her support. "Mommy, is it really okay for us to be friends with him?" Her son whispered, his small hand grasping her own tightly. The question struck home, revealing layers of fear and confusion in that simple inquiry. She knelt down, her eyes meeting his. "Yes, love. It's okay. Friends make us stronger. They teach us new things." The hush that followed was electric, filled with possibility. Conversations flitted about, and Jamal's face softened as he met Sarah's eyes, understanding reflected there. Something deep shifted within them, both, a connection blooming amid the uncertainty. But out of the silence, a new voice rang out, rich and authoritative. "Wait a minute." It was the neighborhood association president, stepping up with purpose. The crowd turned, and Jamal and Sarah exchanged a glance of both worry and hope. What would be said next? Would they find an ally or face another challenge? The words hung in the air like a beacon, and with tension suffusing the atmosphere, Sarah felt a wave of anticipation wash over her. The president stepped forward, his imposing figure casting a long shadow over the crowd. Silence enveloped them, the anticipation becoming palpable. He looked from Jamal to Sarah, allowing the weight of his gaze to linger, as if measuring the potential shift in the air. "Jamal," he said, a firm edge to his tone, "I admire your courage. But courage alone won't fix years of animosity. You may want to unite us, but do you truly understand the depths of pain this community has shared?" Jamal clenched his fists but stood tall, determined not to let the man's words pierce his resolve. "I know there's pain, and that's why I'm here. We can't change what has happened, but we can shape the future. Art can inspire healing, it can start conversations we've avoided for too long." The president shook his head slightly. "And who do you think will support this idea? You've got people here who are afraid of change, Jamal." "You're asking for a chance," Jamal interjected, his voice steady but firm. "That's all I need. A chance to show everyone that we can build something beautiful together." Sarah watched, her heart pounding in rhythm with Jamal's words. Frustration danced in her throat. She leaned in closer to her son, whispering, "Breathe, sweetheart. This is important." The president raised his eyebrows, a challenge echoed in his expression. "Change doesn't come easy. You want support. You will need allies who believe in your vision, even when it feels dangerous." "Then let this be the start," Sarah said, stepping forward with a newfound conviction. "If we keep talking about what divides us, we'll never see what connects us. Look at this mural. It's not about erasing our past, it's about acknowledging it." The president's lips tightened, but she watched his fortitude waver slightly. "And what about the dangers that come with looking ahead too quickly? People are set in their ways." Jamal took a step closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "Every person in this crowd holds a piece of our history. We can either choose to ignore each other or use this moment to start something bigger, something that outweighs individuality." The president's brows furrowed deeper, but whispers began to ripple through the crowd. The hesitant faces softened, and people exchanged glances. It was a small shift, but Sarah felt the change like a spark igniting in the dark. Maybe someone murmured from the back, maybe it's not just about the mural. With that, the atmosphere shifted again. Some neighbors no longer looked away, their interest peaked. Sarah felt a warmth grow in her chest, a sense of hope blooming among the uncertainty, but just as she felt the energy rise, a man stepped forward, his face contorted with anger. What if this goes wrong? What if we open wounds that should stay closed? The crowd nodded in agreement, the trepidation building once more. Jamal stepped back, swallowing hard. Then we face it together. We carry those scars with us, not because they define us, but as a reminder of how far we've come and how much further we can go. Silence fell, and for a moment, the bravery of those words hung in the air. But Sarah could see the mixed emotions swirling, a struggle to choose between fear and hope. She took a deep breath and turned to her son. "What do you think, buddy? Should we stand up for this?" As he pondered, the crowd simmered with anticipation, and the president slowly considered Jamal's proposal. What would happen next? Would they finally begin to heal, or would fear hold them back? The mood in the crowd hung heavy, and Sarah felt the electricity surge again, anchoring her thoughts. Would this be the turning point they desperately needed, or just another moment lost to hesitation? Jamal glanced at Sarah, her eyes filled with questions, a reflection of the turmoil in the crowd. The air felt thick, heavy with possibilities both thrilling and terrifying. He turned back to face the president, raising his chin defiantly. "If you want to see real change, it starts with listening. You might be surprised by what we can build together." The president hid his uncertainty behind a stern mask, yet the curiosity swirled beneath. "And who will help you, Jamal? People don't easily change their views overnight." From the edge of the crowd, a woman stepped forward. Sarah recognized her as Karen, a neighbor who seldom spoke during community events. She had always kept her distance, her discomfort visible whenever discussions about race and community arose. Now, with a trembling voice, she broke the silence. "I'll help. I want to help." Gasps echoed through the crowd, heads turning with disbelief. Karen continued, her voice gaining strength. "I don't know how, but I want to be part of this, to learn. If we're going to heal, we need to learn from each other. I can't pretend things are okay just because it makes me comfortable." A heartbeat paused, then another voice rose, this time from a young man in the crowd. "You think that's enough? Just wanting to help? What about those of us who don't trust you?" "Trust is earned," Karen replied, meeting his gaze with an earnestness that radiated clarity. "I'm not here to erase my mistakes. I just want to be part of the conversation, whatever that looks like." Jamal felt the weight of her words, the pull of a growing movement in the crowd. He stepped forward again, encouraged by her bravery. "We all have histories that can't be changed, but we can choose to move forward together. Art, conversation, and honesty will guide us. Will you join us?" A murmur went through the crowd, mix of skepticism and intrigue. But slowly, people began to nod, their expressions softening. The president shifted, glancing around, his own facade crumbling under the pressure of their collective gaze. "Perhaps a conversation is needed. I will agree if you bring others willing to open their hearts and minds." Jamal's heart raced, hope igniting inside him. "We can host a series of dialogues, workshops on art, race, and healing. I'll reach out to artists and thinkers from both sides. You'll see the beauty in our differences." More voices joined in, one after another, expressing their willingness to participate. Sarah felt tears prickle her eyes, a rush of emotion swelling in her chest. Each shared commitment felt like a brick removed from the wall standing between them, but in that swell of momentum, the impatient man who had expressed anger before stepped forward again. His face twisted in skepticism. "And what if you fail? What if old wounds get ripped open, leaving us worse off than before?" Jamal turned fully towards him, heart pounding. "Then we deal with that together. We acknowledge the hurt, the fear, and we work through it. There's strength in vulnerability. If we can begin to understand where we all came from, perhaps we can foster forgiveness. Karen nodded beside him, her voice soft yet resolute. We owe it to ourselves to try. If we stay silent, nothing changes. At least let us have the courage to speak. In that moment, something began to unfurl in the crowd. Individuals began to draw closer, each tentative voice building into a chorus. Sarah placed a hand on Jamal's back, feeling the warmth radiate from him, a shared determination igniting in the air. Let us make it happen, she murmured, but just as the first hints of unity began to blossom, uncertainty rippled through again. A sudden commotion erupted near the back, drawing their attention away once more. What had they stirred? Would this spark of hope ignite something more, or would it simply draw out the shadows lurking beneath? As faces turned toward the unfolding drama, the question lingered, was this truly the start of something beautiful, or merely the calm before yet another storm? The crowd shifted uneasily as the commotion grew louder, drawing all eyes to the disturbance. A woman's voice rang out, sharp and filled with desperation. You can't just pretend like this will solve anything. It was Jenna, a local activist known for her fiery speeches. The tension rolled through the crowd like thunder. Jamal's stomach sank. Jenna had passion, but sometimes that passion turned into anger that could push people away. His heart raced as he turned to face her. This isn't just about pretending. This is about real dialogue. Real dialogue? You think it'll happen with people still holding grudges? They need to see the reality, not some polished facade. Jenna's words hung in the air, heavy and challenging. Karen stepped forward again, her determination shining through. Jenna, we're all here, willing to try. You can't ignore that. We can't fix it if we don't start talking. Jenna hesitated, looking at the crowd, assessing their reactions. She took a breath, the fire in her eyes softening just a bit. I just want people to really hear the pain, she stated, her voice dropping momentarily. Every day, people are suffering. That's the reality. That's our reality, Jamal replied, the sincerity dripping from his voice. By sharing our stories, we can stand together and recognize our differences. That's where healing begins. Behind him, Sarah felt the energy of the crowd shift. People were leaning in, their expressions beginning to reflect something deeper: curiosity, perhaps even hope. Each face spoke volumes of unhealed wounds and yearning for connection. Suddenly, the president stepped forward, still cloaked in his stoic demeanor but noticeably less rigid. Then show us this courage, he urged, his voice wavering slightly. You want to bring others to join in? Then arrange it. But understand, change is not easy. A ripple of murmurs passed through the gathering. Jamal felt both the weight and thrill of responsibility. Let us hold a town meeting. A safe space for everyone to voice their truths, starting next week. His words tumbled out, wild and determined. Yes. Karen followed up, her excitement palpable. Let us create a platform where people from all backgrounds can come forward and share. Art installations, spoken word, music, everything that brings our stories to life. Jenna's brow furrowed. And what do we do with the real pain? Jamal held her gaze, unyielding yet gentle. We hold it. Together. We're not here to minimize anyone's struggle. Just then, a young girl, no older than 10, burst through the throng, her face streaked with tears. Mom! I'm scared. What's happening? She clung to Jenna's leg, wide-eyed with worry. Jenna knelt, arms wrapping around her daughter, momentarily diverted. It's okay, sweetie. Just a tough conversation. We're going to be all right. But Jamal could see the unease hidden in Jenna's eyes. As the crowd grew restless, Jamal decided to take a bold step. He walked closer to the small family, kneeling as well. Can you help us? He asked the girl, kindness emanating from his voice. We're trying to make it better for kids like you, so you don't have to feel scared anymore. She blinked up at him, innocence meeting intent. What do we do? First, he said, we listen. Then we figure it out together. Around them, people began to nod again, a fresh resolve settling over the gathering. Jenna's expression softened as she looked at her daughter, then back at Jamal, uncertainty giving way to a glimmer of hope. "Okay," she said slowly, a tentative smile breaking through. "Let us try. For them." As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light against the solemn faces, the air seemed to shift. Could this conversation truly begin to heal them? But just as the warmth enveloped the crowd, a familiar figure emerged from the back, holding a sign that read "Shame on you." The murmurs revived, a sense of dread swelling as everyone turned to see the source. Was the moment of unity slipping through their fingers, or could this truly be the start of something that could change everything? Jamal's heart raced as he scanned the crowd, searching for the source of the sign. The glowing sunset was overshadowed by a gathering storm of emotions. Jenna's smile flickered like a candle in the wind, and the fear in the young girl's eyes deepened. The woman behind the sign strode forward, her face contorted in anger, her voice slicing through the rising tension. "You think a town meeting is going to change anything? What a joke. You all are living in a fairy tale." She was tall and defiant, her eyes fierce. Jamal pushed to his feet, feeling the weight of all their gazes bore down on him. "You're right, it's not a fairy tale," he began, his voice steady. "But real change doesn't come without conversation. Without understanding. You think talking matters?" She shot back, disbelief etched all over her face. "It's just words. Words won't put food on the table or save lives. But they can open doors," Jamal replied, eyes locked on hers. "Doors to empathy. To understanding. To real solutions." A flash of doubt rippled through the crowd. They needed to see the point, the truth behind the fear. Jamal stepped forward. "What happened to you?" he asked, not with anger, but with an earnest curiosity. The woman hesitated, caught off guard by the unexpected gentleness in his voice. "You wouldn't understand, you can't. That's where you're wrong," he said softly, hands out as if to bridge the divide. "I want to understand." For a moment, the crowd held its breath. An opening. It was small but full of possibility. Jenna, still holding her daughter close, sensed the shift and began to step toward the woman too. "We all have stories," she said, her voice calmer now. "Together, let us listen. Let us share. Because that's how we can really change things." The woman blinked, her hardened expression softening just a fraction. "You really think that will help?" she asked, vulnerability cracking through her tough exterior. "It's a start," Jamal said. "People can't heal unless they're heard." As murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd, he felt a flicker of hope. But the woman squinted at him, grappling with something deeper. "And what if I don't want to share?" "Then, let us know why," Jamal replied. "Show us the pain you carry. We're here to support you, not judge you." With an almost imperceptible sigh, she lowered her sign, the fight beginning to fade from her features. I don't know if it'll make a difference." Jenna nodded. "Sometimes, just sharing can lift a burden," she said, her voice soothing. "You're not alone in this." Another wave of fear swept through the crowd. Would they really be able to bridge these divides, these differences in their stories and lives? Or would they falter under the weight of unshared truths and unresolved anger? Jamal took a deep breath, hoping to anchor his emotions before he spoke again. "Then let us take that first step together, right here, right now." The tension hung thick in the air. Jamal felt the heaviness of all the histories they carried. But as he looked into the eyes of the crowd, hope flickering like stars on a clear night, he knew this moment could redefine everything. The woman's eyes darted from him to Jenna and back, uncertainty playing across her face. Could they truly open a path towards understanding, healing, and love? Just as the crowd began to respond, a loud crash interrupted, a nearby protester throwing something against the wall. Jamal's heart raced again, the air charged with urgency and uncertainty. What would happen now? Would this fragile moment of connection survive the chaos? Jamal's breath hitched as chaos erupted. The shattering glass sent shards of panic through the crowd. Gasps echoed, and people jerked back, their expressions a whirlwind of shock and fear. He could see the woman, the one who had dared to show a glimmer of vulnerability, frozen in her spot, as if the crash had sealed her in place. "Everyone, stay calm," Jamal called out, his voice slicing through the murmur of confusion. "Let us not let this moment fall apart. Please." Jenna stepped closer to him, eyes wide. "What do we do?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, edged with fear. "We move towards understanding," Jamal replied, his heart beating wildly. He couldn't let anger or panic overshadow this opportunity. "We stand tall and support each other." The crowd slowly began to settle, eyes shifting between Jamal and the woman. He felt a pull to encourage her, to draw her into this fragile moment before it slipped away. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice steady, inviting. The woman blinked, finally breaking from her trance. "Talk?" she repeated, uncertainty rising in her tone. "After all of this?" "Yes," he said, his gaze never wavering. "This is the time to be real. To be heard." Behind her tough exterior lay a soul wrestling with pain, and Jamal was determined to help her find her voice, even amid the chaos. Unbeknownst to him, his choice at that moment was more than altruism. It was a testament to his own struggles, a standing against the fear that often silenced him too. The crowd gathered around them, tension palpable as they leaned in, eager to witness the unfolding moment of vulnerability. The angry waves of protest now rear-ended by an undertow of hope. It felt like a fragile bridge, straddling two worlds. What if I share my truth and it changes nothing?" The woman's words trembled, her vulnerability peeking through the remnants of anger. "It might," Jamal said softly, "but it might change everything too. You'll never know until you try." He took a step closer, a gesture that seemed to ripple through the air, inviting her to take that risk with him. The woman looked around at the crowd, their faces unguarded, a clear longing for connection reflected in their expressions. She swallowed hard, her defiance slowly melting away in the warmth of their openness. Jenna stepped closer, holding her daughter who clung to her shirt tightly. "We're here for each other," she said, her gentle smile radiating reassurance. "Whatever you decide, you won't face it alone." As the woman inhaled deeply, Jamal caught a glimpse of the turmoil briefly shadowing her face. He knew this was a significant moment, yet he couldn't shake the sense that they were teetering on a precipice, ready to step forward, or fall into old habits of division. Then the woman's features softened, the fight within her fleeing like a ghost. She sighed, looking to Jamal with a flicker of something hell-bent on being released. "Fine," she whispered, barely audible over the murmurs of the crowd. "But if I share, I need you to promise you'll hear me without judgment." Jamal nodded earnestly, his heart swelling. "I promise." The air hummed with anticipation, everyone teetering on the brink of something raw and unfiltered, ready to engage in a conversation that could awaken healing or reignite the flames of discord. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, another crash echoed in the distance, interrupting. The crowd gasped again, eyes darting toward the noise, as panic surged once more. What now? Jamal thought, panic rising in him again. Would they really break through, or would the noise outside drown out their moment of connection for good? Fear gripped him, but determination ignited in his heart. Would the woman's truth survive through the chaos, leading them toward the love they desperately needed? The sharp sounds of chaos faded momentarily as Jamal struggled to focus, his heart racing. He felt the pull of the woman's unspoken story drifting between them, a truth waiting to break free. The crushed silence of hope hung heavy, and he wished he could pipe the resolve of the crowd into her soul. "Let us take a breath," he said, raising his hand slightly as if to command not just the crowd but the very atmosphere surrounding them. Everyone paused as their shared anticipation filled the space between breaths. The woman closed her eyes for just a moment, perhaps willing herself to find courage, as Jenna's daughter, cradled in her mother's arms, leaned in closer as if she already sensed the fragility of the moment. I don't want to be just another face in this crowd, but how do I even begin? The woman finally whispered. Her voice trembled, the crack exposing the weight of her truth. Jamal felt the urge to reach out, but he held back, respecting the delicate boundary that existed between them. Start with what you feel. It's okay if it's messy. Life doesn't come in neat packages, he answered, his sincerity wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She inhaled deeply, a long breath that seemed to pull the courage from the depths of her being. I grew up in a world that taught me to fear, to hate, she began, and Jamal noticed the flickering torch of bravery light within her, illuminating her features. But deep down, there was always a voice telling me that wasn't right. Maybe I was scared to listen. A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd. They leaned forward, anchoring themselves to her words as if they could feel the weight of her struggle. My life, my privilege, it meant nothing when I couldn't see beyond my own perspective. I thought. She paused, her face twisting. I thought by being on the outside, I was safe. But every day, I felt more hollow. I want to change, to understand, but how? Can I, as a white woman, ever connect to your suffering? Jamal's heartbeat slowed, his mind racing against the delicate threads of her admission. Change begins with the willingness to understand and empathize. It's not about the color of your skin, it's about the choices you make, he replied softly. A hush enveloped the crowd, a moment woven with unity and empathy. Around them, simmering tension subsided, replaced by an authentic connection. What if I fail? She asked, tears glistening in her eyes. Failure is just part of the journey. As long as you keep moving forward and taking steps toward love, you'll find strength, he assured her, his voice steady and warm. The crowd began to murmur in agreement, nods of solidarity echoing what Jamal felt bubbling in his own chest. Suddenly, the distant noise that had stirred chaos before returned. The sound of shouts and glass scraping against pavement drew nearer, and an uneasy tension filled the air again. Are we really going to let this moment slip away? Is this truth strong enough to withstand that? Jamal thought, adrenaline surging. The woman met his gaze with eyes wide and searching, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. The heaviness of their situation felt tangible, an impending crisis threatening to shatter their hard-earned connection. Then, in a moment of clarity, Jamal spoke with more conviction. Your voice matters. If we can break through this, we can change the narrative. But just as he finished, the loud thud of feet approaching surged like storm clouds overhead. Jamal's heart pounded. How would they handle this, especially after unveiling so much vulnerability? The question hung in the air as uncertainty loomed, threatening to shadow the light they had just begun to uncover together. What would happen when the outside world confronted their fragile truth? Would fear tighten its grip again, or could love and understanding find their way at last? As the chaos outside grew, Jamal felt the ground shift beneath him. The voices of dissent and anger formed a whirlwind that threatened to pull them apart. The raw honesty they had begun to cultivate felt fragile and precarious, just like the mural painted on the wall behind them. But he refused to let fear win. Not today. Stay with me, everyone. Jamal called, his voice steadying the crowd. We've shared so much. We can't let noise drown out the progress we've made. We've got to stand together right now, more than ever. Sarah leaned closer to Jamal, her heart racing. She felt a surge of courage ripple through her. We can't let this be the end. Let us speak out together. She looked around, locking eyes with her children and the neighbors who had gathered. Every smile, every supportive glance fueled her resolve. Exactly. Jenna echoed, stepping forward. We need to show them that our voices can rise above the chaos. Take a stand for love. More and more faces slowly emerged from the uncertainty, stepping closer to the front as if drawn by a magnetic force. The woman who had first raised the sign now stood at the forefront, her hands trembling but her gaze aflame with determination. They should hear us. We need to be loud enough to drown out the anger. Jamal nodded, his heart swelling with admiration for everyone emerging from the shadows. Let us do it. Let us chant, sing, express ourselves. Let us lift each other up. Together, they formed a circle, arms linked, joined in a tapestry of unity against the thundering backdrop of dissent echoing through the streets. Jamal could feel the warmth of their shared hope radiating like a flame through the crowd. "Ready?" he asked. "On 3. They counted, and as they hit 3, their voices erupted. Love. Together. Unity. Change. The words rang out, filling the air with purpose and a sense of belonging that washed over them like sunlight breaking through clouds. The sound carried, echoing down the street, drawing attention from bystanders and those expressing anger. It was an anthem of solidarity, a declaration of change. Slowly, others began to join in, those who had been hesitant, unsure growing louder as they found their voices. Amid the shouting, the tension outside began to soften. People paused, turning to see the spectacle of togetherness. The faces of those once hardened by division transformed. Jamal felt a flood of relief as the shared energy offered a tangible sense of hope that reached far beyond the moment. The woman who had earlier raised the sign now stepped forward, her eyes brimming with tears of realization. "I see it now," she called out, her voice trembling but firm. "We have the power right here together if we choose to understand and heal." The crowd responded, echoing her sentiment with cheers and applause. It was electric, the realization that they were paving a new path forward, one built on understanding, healing, and love. Under the golden rays of the setting sun, Jamal turned to Sarah, gratitude lighting his face. "We did it," he breathed, realizing how far they had come. Their journey had illuminated something greater than themselves. The evening continued as laughter and music floated through the air, filled with an added layer of connection. The mural behind them stood proud, a testament to their resilience, a canvas painted from the depths of their wounds and the heights of their shared aspirations. As night fell, the street turned vibrant with celebration. Sarah lifted her children on her shoulders, pointing at the mural that now depicted a sunset, showcasing rich oranges, calming blues, and hopeful greens. "Look at what we created," she exclaimed, tears stained with joy sparkling in her eyes. Jamal watched the faces of his neighbors, a mix of fear, uncertainty, but now a glimmer of hope. The weight of old hurt still loomed, yet a new conversation was born. It was the beginning, not the end. That moment, amid the laughter of children and the melodies of shared stories, Jamal and Sarah recognized the profound transformation found in understanding. They knew it wouldn't be easy. But they were willing to fight for a community that flourished through love, compassion, and unity. Hope unfolded like petals in spring, and together, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they closed the evening, Jamal felt a charge within him. He knew this was just a singular moment. It was the start of something beautiful, a chance to rewrite the narrative for his community and beyond. And the mural behind them? It would forever hold the whispers of their journey, a vibrant reminder of what was possible when hearts and minds unite. Now, before you go, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this message. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this awe-inspiring journey. You need to subscribe now, because only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.